is a journey into sound.
The fattest, funkiest tunes in town.
Now, here comes the music.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
All right. Okay. We did it. It's another day. It's another beautiful, gorgeous day where I get to see all of my greatest friends and we get to talk about the stock market. My name's Lynn Adams. Some people call me Stock Mom, and this is a Stockcast U Premarket show. Let's talk a little bit about what we're about to do right now because it's about to go down. We're going to do some top-down analysis, talk about futures, we'll talk about the indices, we'll talk about ETFs and individual stocks. We'll talk about news. And oh my God, is there news? Economic reports are pretty minimal today, so I think we're going to be focusing on news and a little bit of a nice watch list. What we won't do and what we don't condone is giving out financial advice. We'll never tell you what to do with your money. That's your job after your own due diligence. However, we can tell you why we took the trades that we took and how we're making our way through the market, and hopefully that helps and we can all grow together as one big trading community that just keeps making all this sweet, sweet money. With that said, I'm joined by some of my favorite people. Tuan, Christopher, Patrick. Hey, Coach. Welcome to the stage. And Vanessa. Oh my God, you made it. Now, normally we like to start our days off with a quote, and today is no different. Hey, Tuan. You've been killing it with the quotes. Do you have something for us today?
Yes, good morning. Good morning. I have one today. My name is Twan. My quote of the day is the power of the tongue is real. Speak good and positivity constantly into your life.
Yeah, I really like that. And we love those positive affirmations on a daily basis. I totally agree, man. Christopher, good morning. Do you have a quote for us today?
Good morning, everybody. And actually, I do have a quote from this for today. Elaine, you might like this one. Um, you can compromise without violating your principles, but it's nearly impossible to compromise when you turn principles into ideology. Tell me who that's from.
I don't know. You tell me. It's your
That would
quote.
be your favorite Jamie Dimon.
I love that. And it's very relatable as I've been spending so much time around crypto people. So separating that emotional versus just objective truth is really something. Patrick, good morning. Do you have
Good
a quote for
morning.
us
I got
today?
it.
You don't
I
have
do. I do have a quote, and
a.
I think Chris might like this one. It's the formula for success. It's rise early. It's work hard and strike oil. It's by J. Paul Getty, and I picked that one just in honor of oil and energy today.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Coach. Good morning. Welcome to the stage.
Good morning. Thank you.
Did you have a quote you wanted to share with us for the day?
I have one I can share, sure. And I think this goes well with everybody in the room who is a trader or thinking of trading. Heard this once from a motivational speaker, and he said, Investing is risky, he said, but wait till they hand you the bill for not investing.
I love that.
Yeah, I like that as well.
Coach, was that Jim Rome?
It was Jim Rohn.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Vanessa, good morning. Do you have a quote for us today?
Sorry, I wasn't next to my phone, but good morning, everyone. I do not have a quote, but happy birthday, Elaine. I'm going to use the Clubhouse payment feature for the first time in my life today.
Birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Aw, thank you. I'm old now. It's official. I've been saying I'm 30, but I'm actually 30. We did it. All right. My quote is by Rex Tillerson. When coal came into the picture, it took about 50 or 60 years to displace timber. Then crude oil was found, and it took 60, 70 years, and then natural gas. So it takes 100 years or more for some new breakthrough in energy to become the dominant source. Most people have difficulty coming to grips with this sheer enormity of energy consumption. I think that this is sort of a relevant phrase and a quote in the idea that we really do so many times in the ideas of growth just hop onto these companies and these stocks and oh my god, EV to the world. Most of the cars made by Ford or GM are going to by 2025 2030 you're going to be electric, all electric fleets. And however, our power system, the way that we actually get energy around the country is so antiquated. And there's so many infrastructure problems, and I think that's what we're seeing with the gas, this colonial gas line. What we saw with the Suez Canal, what we're continuing to see with the Keystone, is just that we're still standing on a terrible history and a history that needs to be constantly upgraded. Not only that, but the demand is insane. Just the scale and scope of a country like this, of any country for that matter. But something like this is just, it is much larger. And so I tend to think on longer time frames for total adoption of EV or seeing that boom on batteries that we're all deeply and strongly expecting. But the timeline on it, especially on the operational side, is something I'm maybe a little bit of a slower paced person compared to everybody else. And that's why I'm still trading oil. All right. With that said, unless anybody has anything else to add, let's guys want to get into the futures?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I wish we weren't trying to put this online and stuff like that, because this would be a perfect time for that, like fly like an eagle
I would agree.
into the into the future. Oh my god. But it's mixed. Okay, so here's my thing. We're actually seeing a great little bounce here, and I'm kind of bullish overall, especially given the fact that it's just not large cap growth time. Okay, so we have the Nasdaq, um, closed it Friday, 13,675. We're sitting there. I just, yeah, okay. Previous to this, what had happened? So on April 5th, we broke above a little bit of a resistance zone. We carried above that and held up to a new high of 14,064. We bounced between that and this 13,600 level and eventually came up to a new high again, but we double topped. We were then rejected firmly down to this 13,400 level. Now, the important thing to note is that this is still a level that has acted as a resistance for us historically and previously. It happened once on March 2nd. It happened again on February 25th. It happened once more when we kind of rejected on January 27th. And now we're holding above this. For me, this is positive. Overall, I'm very, very, very excited still, even though we definitely have some troubling economic situations going on around us, specifically dealing with the price of commodities, as well as dealing with international trade partners. Now, let's go over to the S&P 500. Oh, and sorry, but the Nasdaq is down 0.29% on the day so far, which isn't fantastic, but you know what? Not everything's going to be the way that you want it to be. And when things aren't at all-time high, we definitely have room to run. Now, the thing that I'll be looking for is when and where we start this bounce. If we bounce at the 13,600 level, I'm looking to 13,800 very specifically. We've traded inside of this range before, and it's been a range. Now, if we break above 13,800, really honestly, we could be making that next leg up to the 14,000 and above, and there is a trend to catch there. However, I don't know about just being supremely bullish, and I am not really sure about how the market's going to respond, especially with this whole commodity super boom thing that's going on. It will affect bottom lines, and the fact that the Colonial is not open yet is also like kind of a key thing for me personally. Um, However, if we were to break below the 13,400 region for one reason or another, I mean, I do have a little bit of a supply zone, so it's not as though it's a hard stop there. But anything below 13,350, something like that, then I really will be looking for this next leg down. But I will share my chart, I guess, on Instagram or something, so you guys can see. It's just like we respect these lines, and we have seen this range, this heteroskedasticity. Um, which means and is characterized by unprecedented changes in volatility, whether it's due to something that we know, as in, you know what, rising interest rates, there's more people in the market, there's more speculation, people are excited to trade, or it's something that we don't know. Like, hey, this key pipeline or other countries that we trade with are having difficulties and are having to focus on medical as opposed to, economic growth right now, right? Whatever it is, we're seeing higher highs, lower lows, and a much and an increased environment of volatility. So, with that said, I'm still personally not going to be too worried until we break this 13,300 level. I am overall bullish on the market currently. Looking at the S&P 500 futures, gosh, we're sitting at a totally different place, and it's been beautiful. Hey, Patrick, God, you know what? 420. You were entirely right, and not only that, um, I'm still looking for like 460 end of year, right? Um, and it's only May. We have time, and we've seen some really constructive, strong growth. We're not seeing any complete fall offs in volume. And if we did take a pullback from this all-time high where we're at right now, maybe down to the 416 level, um, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. Now we in the S&P 500, we've been trading in another little bit of a range between 410 and 416, and we've been doing that since April 9th, basically. Um, and we were rejected from the 410 level a couple of times on 420, 422, and then from the 420 level on May 3rd. Right, so we're all kind of in new upward bound territory, and this is an expansion phase for sure. And we're finding where we're going to go ahead and trade in a range again, consolidate, and make that next leg up if the market is to continue to grow, and if we start to see positive results on company revenues, earnings, growth, profitability, all that good stuff. Uh, and even though we are in such a tricky economic time, it's not as though I don't see that happening. So many people talk about being in a bubble. I'm one of those people. I do think we have like a reckoning coming. However, that doesn't mean we can't be profitable and we can't look to the market to show us places where we can capture that growth story or capture that wherever honestly the upward momentum is. Clearly there's something because both of our major indices are at all-time highs. Same thing with the Dow, even though I just don't like to talk about it particularly. But I will talk about the Russell, which just ticked into the red. And so we have both the Russell and the Nasdaq futures in the red right now. So really briefly, we're still trading between 22 and 2300. I'm not expecting too much of a change here. We've bounced off of that bottom range. I might genuinely start taking Russell index trades, and I don't know, you guys. This pattern has been validated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times already, 5, 6 times, of just going between this bottom range and this top range, and on top of that, we are catching up to our moving averages. Like, that's what a consolidation phase does for us. It allows us to catch up to the average share price of an underlying equity that a person may have might really come down to the price we're at because we've been sitting at it for so long and people are buying and selling. This allows for confidence for people to be ready to move to that next leg up without just having to sell immediately, because we'll be very close to the point of control, or the point at which most people have bought this. Currently, that point of control is far, far below us, right? Just showing that we have actually had a serious amount of growth. Sometimes it's just hard to see it when you're looking on a chart that's, done in days instead of weeks or months or quarters. Um, so yeah, with that said, we have in the S&P, we're up 0.12%. And last but not least, Vixx. Vixx took a big spill last Friday, going from, let's see here, 18 all the way down to 16. And now we're waking up, sitting at 17. So a little bit of it was a gap up, right? A 4% gap up. Volatility is one of those key indicators of, you know what, if we are sitting at our all-time high, or sitting close in places where I'm seeing a little bit of a negative, and we have seen a little bit of a negative news correlation here going on with the commodity side of it and the oil trade, which I can't wait to let Chris talk about. So if we're seeing this market, I kind of expect some volatility, or especially where we're at in terms of the volatility chart. 17 isn't low, it's not high. 16 would be low. 15 would be, oh my gosh, I'm expecting things to happen, or are we about to set a new trend? So I'm not exactly sure here, but our 9-day moving average for volatility would be around 18. So as volatility goes up, basically prices are going down, right? Like, that's the correlation right there. So something that I'm kind of interested in, as we are in a very key point in the S&P futures, as well as already starting to make a little bit of a negative move in the Nasdaq, even though it's not even in a worrisome area. We can definitely take a little bit of a pullback, and I'd still overall be bullish for the week, to be honest. Really, depending on when this damn Colonial Pipeline and some other things with COVID cases start to get handled. Anybody have any takes there? We're gonna let Chris talk oil. Chris, please talk about oil.
Okay, so I'm Chris, guys, also known as the Sage, and I'm going to talk about oil, or maybe I should say I'm going
Whoa!
to talk about where
Did
the
we
money
just feel a
resides.
new nickname?
Oh, I've been rocking with the Sage for quite some time, but
You've
anyway,
been the
we're
sage.
definitely going to jump into the where the money resides right now. Let's talk about some oil. Oh my gosh! So what do we need? And normally I'll let Patrick tag team me with this, but I don't know if we're up to date on the catalyst. So let me just jump in and go really quickly. So right now we're up 0.89% on the chart on the Brent side of things, and 0.79% on the WTI side of things. Why are we only up this much? We do still have some very real COVID case numbers coming in. However, we do have rising economic numbers in the U.S. and in China, so that's helping some bullish potential. However, over the weekend, and I hope you guys filled up your tanks, there was a cyber attack on the Colonial Pipeline, right? Now, the Colonial Pipeline um, it is one of the biggest pipelines in the U.S. It basically transport over 100 million gallons of gasoline every day. And as a result of this cyber attack, it is completely shut down. And we're talking about 100 million gallons of gas plus per day that is completely shut down, with an estimated return time of to be determined, or until further notice, or indefinitely. And when you hear something like that, especially when people saying anything over 5 days, now we talked about the Suez Canal, and I think it was what, 3 days, 3 business days, if you think about the weekend, and how much that really affected the trade. This being shut down affects the supply again. And what happened when we had the supply chain affected for those 3 days with the Suez Canal? We flew to the moon on the oil side of things. Not only do we have that, but we have the commodity trade that's going to boom off of that as well, right? You have to think that maybe this attack was targeted, right? I don't think it just was an accident, right? We already have an unstable economy, and gas prices at an all-time high without any disruption. Now we have a disruption in supply chain, right? And also the independent assets are now becoming, even more valuable because of this thing, right? And what I'd like to see here, really, I'd like to hold the 69 level and really push 70 today. OPEC, we don't
Chris,
really
can
have.
I can
Go
I
ahead.
add something just to
Yeah, sure.
the colonial thing? So yeah, just so everyone understands as well, like um, it was a cyber attack that they're saying. I saw this morning that they're thinking is originating from some of the former Soviet bloc countries. The group involved in this has been growing more sophisticated and has also threatened that they are inside the companies that are on the NASDAQ and are going to threaten to release sensitive information that'll obviously move the stock, not the NASDAQ exchange itself, but the companies within the NASDAQ. And then just to put the pipeline in perspective, the pipeline, as Chris mentioned, super important, but it brings the gas from like the Houston, Louisiana area all the way up to New York and New Jersey. So when you're saying like this is the pipeline that runs the entire East Coast that basically, as Chris mentioned, when it's down, it's a problem. And then one more clarification, Chris, as well, is the company is actually the one that shut down the pipeline. They did it preemptively to avoid what they said were more catastrophic outcomes than what we're in. I don't know what's worse than the pipeline being shut down, but it wasn't as if the cyber attack took the pipeline down. The company did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's actually worth talking about for quite just for 2 seconds. Why would they do this? I was in a room yesterday and people were talking about like, well, what could possibly be the reason? To be honest, if it's a ransom, I mean, did you guys know we're in a state of emergency over this? Like it, it's
Right.
not as though we're not. And I believe it's 45% of all the gas that makes its way up to the North Carolina, New Jersey, like all up there, right? It's is a extremely key pipeline. And so what benefit is it to a foreign state to ask for more money than we can get potentially, or is this just an overall attack, right? Some sort of cyber war thing, or alternatively, um, if it was inside of the country, what would benefit a group inside to do something like this once again? I am actually leaning towards the inside the country conspiracy theory
Me
over the
too.
Russians, to be honest.
I'm going EV people.
That's it. If anybody else has anything to add,
I
like,
agree. No, I agree. I'm inside.
That was interesting. I'm just listening.
See, Elaine, I was in a room as well, and I thought it was interesting because to me, this could symbolize as a potential dry run for
mm,
kind of like you said, a cyber warfare where we all know at least in my opinion, the days of fighting wars with missiles and guns is going to slowly end, and we're going to enter that cyber attack. And you can see if you shut down a pipeline, what that does. Now imagine if you shut down an electrical grid. That's not as simple as turning on a power switch in your house. It's way more complicated. So this also has me, and we can shift back to oil. I do apologize for going on
no, you're all
a
good,
little
man.
bit of a tangent, but sorry, Chris. But this is going to also make me bullish structure bill. I mean, this clearly shows the the ancientness, well, so to speak, the antiqueness of the uh, grid and the protections around it. So to me, CrowdStrike, FireEye, those types of companies are the ones I'm also going to be watching in the coming days.
Yeah, well, like, I guess one last thing to say about like an attack like this is like, is it is it like business related or would it be personal? Because it's a ransomware attack, right? They said they found a bunch of data. So is it, and then like what type of business is it? Like, are they finding out that they're somehow not following some sort of safety protocol, right? Because like you said, it's a ransomware attack. It's to this point so far has not been described as an inability to. I mean, ransomware, I guess, means that certain things are locked, and if the ransom isn't paid, but it actually hasn't been described as like it seems as though there's more of the ransom thing. So I guess the question is like, what information would it be that they had that was so valuable that they could stop 45% of the gas going to the eastern coast in this country, right? It's like if Biden there's a task force on this now, so we may never really get the true answers, but I guess it's just to say like you can't do something like that and not assume there's going to be a countrywide response. For whoever, that's a pretty high level risk. And right, so is it something personal? That's really what I because if it is, and this represents maybe the biggest part failure potential for failure in our whole thing, which is that people are fallible. Right? Is it just that we found something that was completely inappropriate in this whole document dump, or is it some sort of company thing? Or maybe do they have a button that allows them to set everything on fire and we had no idea about it, and so they really do have to close it just because of ransomware, and the fear that there may be some tampering with movement along the thing. I don't know if you guys knew this. Gas moves in pipelines at different speeds. So this one moves at 3 to 5 miles per hour. So much like you're saying, if there is a prolonged shutdown, I mean, over a week, the time it'll take for it to actually, because we had diminished levels of supply in the first place since people weren't driving because of COVID, right? So we're kind of all just getting to this reopening phase. This is a crucial time to have a mistake like that happen. That's all I have to say on this one. My name's Elaine. I'm complete.
You are complete. That was anyway. But yeah, I was just gonna finish it up by saying like it's not just the oil side of thing. Like we have the gas. I mean, all the oil, with the exception of natural gas, is running. Like ethanol is on crack cocaine, 4.2% today. Like it's nutty. Heating oil. I don't even track heating oil, and it's up 1.28%. Gasoline up 1.32%. Like I said, I hope you got your gas over the weekend because this is affecting oil everywhere.
Chris, I can even say my family owns a bunch of gas stations, and I can tell you we got calls from our suppliers over the weekend, um, giving us some warning about some future deliveries we have on stock, on order.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, we own 30 gas stations in the state of Florida, and ranging from Miami all the way up to Daytona. And we got a call Sunday from our supplier saying, um, "Hey, get ready."
So if you can disclose this information, have you guys raised the price on scarcity already?
Um, no, we won't raise the price because we own so many that we buy in such large quantities that it's a little different for us. But gas is going up, and Chris, you are right. You are going to see gas prices increase at the pump relatively soon. And by relatively soon, I mean like
Like
Wednesday.
today.
Yeah.
It depends also if this pipeline continues to stay shut down. It really is 45% of the diesel, gasoline, and jet fuel all comes through this particular pipeline. Like diesel has so many more widespread effects than just gasoline by itself. That's going to affect the cost of all your goods because shipping is going to cost more. Trucking is going to cost more. Uh, Also, I don't know if this matters or not, but like part of the emergency measures that Biden made, legalized or whatever, make it so that truck drivers can now drive if they're supplying fuel specifically. They don't have to pay attention to the DOT rules for just class A commercial driving, which strongly limits the amount of time that you can drive during a day. But now that's not the case if you're transporting fuel. So I mean, not that I think that any truckers are ever going to make bad use of it, but it is something to consider that we now have a more dangerous situation also on the road. It doesn't take many accidents to be a big deal with that type of stuff. So interesting, also related.
Well, it's 9:01. And if you want to go ahead and reset, and then we can hop in the spy.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first place every morning you should stop to get your stock market news. That's right, I'm talking about the morning show presented by Stockhouse University. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. This is a conversation amongst friends that love talking about stocks and want to improve our profitability by coming here every day, talking about the market, relevant news, and how we're going to use that information to be profitable. We think education should be accessible and affordable to everyone, so we have a free Discord that has tons of resources and over 1,800 amazing members at all different skill levels that are also talking about the market, and they're trying to grow as well. We also do free classes on Sundays, and we would love it if you would join that community and contribute, because together we are so much more powerful than we are individually. Invite your friends, invite your family. Let's all create opportunities for generational wealth. Also, if you like the conversations that we have here, make sure to click the greenhouse on the top and join the community. We'd love to continue the conversations, and we would love it if you guys would contribute every time we're on stage, not just in the Stockhousing family. Thank you.
All right. We kind of already really did talk about SPY, and unless anybody wants to add some more stuff, anybody looking at SPY? Think we missed anything?
I'll
Okay,
just add, Elaine.
go for it.
I'm looking at 4,300 by the end of June, or 430 by the end of June for SPY.
I'm not against that. You know, I try not to make those like longer term predictions, but you're like you're like the Kathy Woods of our crew. You hit like it's undeniable. I don't know what to say. At the time, it was like I think we were like 408, and you're like 420 by the end of April. It was just like,
And
what
we're
the
like,
hell?
what?
We were
That
shocked.
South Florida voodoo we got going on down here.
When you've got market sense, there's no accounting for that. I have a question. We don't have to do this, but because it's Monday and just a new week in general, and still feeling some hesitation. Um, you guys want to talk about stocks? Ooh, Nasdaq just continues to pull back. Man, they're not loving this whole fuel thing.
Can I make a special request? And you can just say no if you don't want to do it. But it's the day after Mother's Day. It's also your birthday. Can we just do a special treat yourself for like 5-10 minutes?
Treat yourself is not my favorite segment, Chris.
Fine, fair enough. Let's not.
I mean, whatever. I'm going to the spa today. I'll be at the spa for the next after this for the rest of the day. Probably, I'll probably be trading stocks from the spa. If I'm going to be honest, like just so I can be in my super duper happy place. Um, can we combine it? What stocks would you treat yourself to right now? Because we do have some interesting opportunities. And I don't know. I'm living in these commodity trades. There's a company that I kind of talked to you guys on the background about, but didn't like bring up to the stage just because it's so piping hot. But I was recently in a room talking about the tin trade, and this company called Nucor, which is they mine tin as well as copper and a couple of other things, kind of like a Vale or whatever. And they've just been tearing it up. My favorite company, Freeport McMoran, has also been running to the freaking sky. And you know what? I've been sitting in this commodities trade. I've been talking about it. I looked at it. We've been talking about it basically since I got on Clubhouse and started doing watch lists.
And we're trading it today.
Okay, but are you trying to buy this on like is this the opportunity, I guess is the question, right? Like is this the
Copper's
dip you
up
want to buy?
2%.
But
Absolutely,
that's
we're
but
buying it.
Chris, that's the point. I guess I'm saying like the trade has been hot. It's been outpacing growth. If you had invested in copper or corn, you would have made more than if you've been holding Tesla since January right now. And the question is that like it's and commodities are even slower. They're fucking commodities, dude. These are not things that are used to. I mean, there will be a cost on the other side, and at one point we will hit a price that we have to be rejected from because the market can't support it for a second. Uh,
I mean, it's
the
sector
trend is
rotation for me
hyped.
because I think as that stuff goes up, like the housing market, like the availability, like the expensive houses are getting right now, it's like all that stuff is going up. I mean, all this stuff is going down because people aren't buying because it's super expensive, and then it's just going to rotate into those items are going to go down. The housing market is going to go up. I mean, it's sector rotation. We talk about it a lot, though.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I haven't been talking about sector rotation because it's all over the place, and I'm seeing like an end of these large macro trends of like, okay, now it's commodities, now it's not growth. I mean, we've had some good growth movements inside of this whole commodities run for sure. I guess it just depends on where you got in, right? Where you got in and what you were looking for to get out. But I mean, everything since last March has gone to the moon and back, basically, if we're talking about kind of the recovery. There are some things that haven't. So I guess the question I want to ask the stage for this small segment is if you are looking to pick up some stocks and are looking to go long on some positions, what sector are you looking in? Because yeah, commodities isn't isn't bad. I think I'm actually just saying that. I'm feeling the materials play still. I think it's the juxtaposition between commodities and growth that I've been happy in. And there you go. The companies I am looking at have been like kind of all battery related and infrastructure related as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. Um, hey Tuan, what about you, man? What sector are you interested in on this little kind of hesitation moment that we're having in the market right now? Yo, he gone. Chris, your turn.
Um,
Crypto
um,
miners?
I mean, yeah, crypto miners. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right. I'm not mad at that. Patrick, what do
Cr-
you got for us?
I was going to just say, so, I'm in commodities. I'm big on copper. I think you're going to see copper run a little bit stronger as well. I'm in FCX, but also Chris. I just to add something interesting. You said I read an article, and I'll find it and send it to you if you want. But someone was actually saying Riot would be a great inflation hedge play, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I would also just go into saying that if I could play something else that's outside of like stock market, I mean that is the stock market. I would say solar right now, going into the summer. Like I said, it's one of the number one trade jobs that people are applying for. These electrical vehicle charging stations installers and these solar panel installers. Like the job market's hot right now.
Yeah, solar is on a dip. Good God, that is a dip to buy for sure. I guess the real question is like I'm still not really deeply sure why. You would think that government subsidies, like the whole part of reason why we're seeing Tesla kind of make the earnings that they do is like because of government subsidies. And as much as we talk about being this forward-thinking country, it's like the companies that really maybe would change, especially our infrastructure, especially on an energy side, are not as heavily subsidized as you would think, and yeah, and influence to balance out the cost of the power because it just doesn't make as much money as pure oil or crude or anything like that. Yes. Oh, go for it, Chris. My bad.
No, I was just saying I'm noticing the trend, and I guess I'll wait for everybody else to get into it before I say what I think my trend is going to be. But go ahead.
Hey, Ness. Do you have a sector that you're looking at right now if you're gonna make some purchases and go long? All right, we'll get back to you, Marcus. How about you, man?
Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of kicking myself. I was short in tech, and then Friday I got spooked when that whole massive rebound happened. But now looking at this oil situation and seeing that tech may be pulling back, but I'm just gonna leave that be. But I took a position, needless to say, in the real estate. So I got into XLRE, and that's been doing
Mm,
me really well. And I was looking at copper. So again, I was looking at copper position. Just not a specific like Freeport, but just more so going into the sector. CPER is the ETF there.
love that. Yeah, I mean I think that's interesting. That's interesting, man. Are there any specific sectors inside of? Oh, but you just went XLRE. You went for a whole sector bet
I
as
went the
opposed to
whole
trying to go
sector. Yeah,
specific.
I went the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, just right now for me, my sniping, I'm just kind of taking a break from it, and actually because these sectors, and I think you just made a good point a second ago. You typically don't see these ETFs move like this historically, but with this 2021, when things move in these sectors, they move aggressively. So you can almost get some love from the sectors just as much as the individual stocks.
Yeah. plus the safety. I'm just with you. I mean, you're
Better
not
safety.
an inactive trader at all, and it's like sometimes we're nose to the ground, and sometimes it's like, look, I'm gonna take a step back and stay with something that I can have some conviction with because I'm not sure, you know.
Yep.
We
Yep.
Yo, Trade Desk beat both of their both their EPS and revenue down 10% first thing in the morning. The future Trade Desk is the future. I'm just confused as always, but I haven't had too much time to get into it yet. Larko, good morning, man. What sector are you looking at and feeling confident for on this potential
Buenos
dip?
dias. I'm
Buenos.
looking at airlines and wood. Like those are my two sectors that I'm really. I'm just now starting to do. Like I bought some wood. I need more wood trades. Like that's what my due diligence is for this week is more lumber trades. But the airlines I'm watching too.
So, how did you trade wood? What's your exposure in, man?
Just wood. WOOOD. I just bought the most simplest wood thing that I could find, and now I'm like, I bought it at $95 just to watch it,
Yeah.
and I'm looking like into more wood trades. Like I'm not a big I just see the chart and I'm like, I've been listening to you all talk about wood. My homie that's a flips houses is talking about how high lumber prices are. So it's like from a fundamental level, I think that same with I'm watching gas too. Don't get me wrong. I got a little XOM up in there, a little Chevron up in there too. But wood, I think that all goes to the airline trade too. So that's why I'm hoping like with the reopening, the airlines will buy more gas and the airline stocks are going to go up because people, it's not really, I'm just here to listen to y'all. I've been listening this whole morning. I did 50 push-ups, about to make me a little smoothie. Sheba, y'all.
Oh my God.
Check
We're
out
not.
the. Sorry, then go ahead.
Go for it, man. I was gonna talk about lumber liquidators.
Yeah, I was gonna say check out the ticker cut CUT. Um, that's a good potential thing to do some DD on for lumber. They've got a lot. It's an ETF. They've got a lot of underlines that also could be good for your DD there if you're looking for maybe an individual company as opposed to an ETF.
Cut it, cut it. The wood price
BCC.
is way too high.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, Chris has come in here talking about Home Depot for it's been a minute now. That we've been looking at this as like the standard lumber play. Not that there is any or anything like that. I too like looking at ETFs. So thanks, Patrick. I'm gonna do that homework as well. But yeah, lumber liquidators is another one that I'm seeing just post a lot of growth. And the price has not reacted the same way that a lot of other companies have. So I'm sort of also looking for the deal in this world. Hey, Coach, any sector that you're feeling hot on right now, especially in this weird hesitation moment that we're having?
Yeah, not hot, but I am keeping an eye on energy. There's one company that I bought it a couple of times last year and did well. And then I just happened to go back into it the other day and looked, and I was like, whoa, like if you look at the yearly chart for Hallador Energy, ticker symbol
Mhm.
is HNRG, they're looking really good. So that's one area that I'm going to start playing with again is energy. And another thing that I'm keeping a close eye on is companies that are doing the advertisement video on demand and subscription video on demand. I think that's going to be big. When I did a little research at the end of the year last year, I believe China was number one in that, and I think they said it was a $500 billion market. And the U.S. is trying to compete and thinking in the next few years they could be, or they can beat China or be number one. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on and see who's doing what in that sector.
I love it. And also that company is very competitively priced. We'll be doing some research on that one too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good one. Fahim, good morning, man.
Hi, how are you? I'm not really looking at anything. I'm just, yeah, nothing really. Just a little bit of crypto with Dogecoin and just enjoying that.
Okay, so my trend point, right? and I'll get to that. Is anybody rocking with the banks or the dollar at all, or is everybody just hedging? Because no one in here said anything about financials, fintech, or anything about it.
Hey,
I'm in
XLF.
XLF, JPM, BAC, WFC, you name it.
Okay, I was just checking.
I'm in
I mean,
XLF too, dog.
in
Yeah, I've
terms
been in
of like
XLF for
talking
like 3 weeks.
about the actual opportunity, I mean, like comparatively, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, XLF is going to do good as long as we have these rising yield rates, to be honest, and that is going to continue, especially with something like what's going on in the commodities trade. Inflation is up. There are a series of companies and sectors and thoughts that benefit when we just have rising interest rates and inflation. That, like, there are some stocks that just work, and banks would be one of them. So, however, the banks have been on a run too, and and they move so slow. I
Oh,
guess that.
gang.
Elaine, I would also say if you go and look at the history of the SPY, and you start
Mhm.
to overlap the way the SPY performed on a year over year basis, and then you compare that to the underlying sectors, typically what we'll see, and you can go back and look at the 08-09 crisis as well. Finance obviously drastically underperformed as they did during this last pandemic crisis event we just went through. And
Mhm.
typically, when that happens, they rebound. And then also, if you look historically, the sectors that are leading the S&P at the end of Q1, finance was one of them, do typically go on to lead the S&P for the remainder of the year.
Interesting. Wow, I like that. That's worthy of doing some research on.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen it. You're so far that thesis checks out halfway through
yeah,
the
I
year.
downloaded I joined Trading Economics and downloaded all their data or API'd into it and threw it into a Power BI to kind of look at that. I've been trying to get more into that longer trend, decade long analysis.
I think that's really valid. The one thing that I do know is that ARK's down again this week, so I hope you bought some more oil. With that said, hey Twan, you back? You have a sector or something that you're looking at that you feel like would be ideal in this particular economic or market situation?
I'm just listening to y'all, and I'm gonna check on some stuff this week. Keep my eyes and my ears open.
I want to know what you're looking at.
I got you. I'm gonna put
It'll
it in the
You
Discord.
know,
You know
you
me.
know he gonna put it in the
it'll be in the
Discord.
Discord. This man
He's
gonna
gonna
post
put
it
it
in
in the
the Discord.
Discord.
He
Hey,
does
I,
not.
I'm kind of going against Chris, man. Home Depot going down. If not this week, next week. She been on a run.
You
It's
not what?
not.
Just Chris. I don't see Home Depot's going anywhere right now. There's no way. I don't see it. Now Ark could drop some more, but Home Depot, stop it.
with the
It's
Memorial
coming.
Day sale coming,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I told I don't like. Here's the thing, bro, and people from California have already banned me, but the price is so high on wood, and we're going into the summer. I said if California like catches on fire, Home Depot will be, and like they'll get double because like one wood is gonna be burning, right? And somebody said like the hedge to like the short squeeze the wood was arson, and I think Patrick said that, and that was hilarious. But like Home Depot also like is one of the main contributors to rebuilding a lot of the homes once natural disasters happen. We also have hurricane season coming up for the South right now, and Home Depot's headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Trust me, we are Arthur Blank fans down here, so this is one of my babies. We also, like I said, California is coming right after that, after the summer. We have like I think Home Depot could be like 360 plus by the end of the summer.
I did my research on it. That's why I'm going against you. They do got a price target of 360, and I believe in the company, but it's got to cool also, man. She been on a run, like
You are right
either
about
this
that.
week or next week. It's gonna come down some. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
hold on, a cool off doesn't have to mean like price dump. It just could be the consolidation thing that nobody
It
like.
ain't gonna
Yeah, oh
dump.
yeah.
Yeah, it ain't gonna. I don't believe it's gonna dump, but I'm just saying it's gonna cool off some. But it's a good company. I like it.
I agree with you. All right, you guys, we definitely did this sector talk, which was cool. I'm actually into it, but we didn't leave ourselves a lot of time for news or a watch list. So I'll take both. There's a ton of news that kind of just came out. Where do we want to start? ARC's, I mean, Tesla, Roku, Square, all down for this in this past week, and because of that, ARC's really struggling. I've kind of, I mean, you know what? At the end of the day, it's an innovative ETF, and it's definitely a growth fund. However, there's a number of stocks inside of this fund that you look at the price action and you're like, I don't know how I feel about that with Roku, to be honest. Like, I'm very bullish on anything having to do with advertising, TV, streaming, and so although it's not necessarily correlated with her, there are some sectors inside of growth that I am wondering they benefited from COVID. They'll benefit from people being inside. They'll benefit from people being outside. They'll benefit from people going on social media even more and more and more. And to that end, MGNI Magnite, one of my favorite stream advertising revenue plays, has earnings after market today, and that's something that I'll be looking at as they've continued to grow. Over the past 2 years, they beat their EPS 88% of the time and revenue 3/4 of the time. And in general, additive, oh wow, Jesus Christ, programmatic, I think advertising. There we go. That involves a little bit more of an algorithm as opposed to a human. And can do it by more than just tracking your movements through the app, is something that I think is going to continue to be a big addition, especially as we're seeing more privacy issues come along. So MGNI Magnite is a company that I'm really looking at and wondering how it's going to go. Who's got news?
I'm actually bearish
Mm.
on some retail plays at this point, Yum Brands and things like that. I'm looking at that Chipotle increase of hourly wages to $15 an hour. I'm also watching that McDonald's strike that people are planning, and I'm actually going to play the downside because I think these companies are going to have to come off some money.
Interesting. Draftkings. So, their B2C segment increased 114% for the quarter, on average 1.54 million monthly users. Monthly unique paying customers engaged. Average revenue per user is $61 versus $47, like people thought. DraftKings is up right now, continuing to see it up. I've been super duper duper bullish on all of these gambling stocks, and DraftKings happens to be the king of them currently. So it's nice to hear positive news with that, as well as in general anything related to online sports, iGaming. It's just a big deal, and I think that we're not even close to seeing maximum revenue on things like this, bearing legislative risk.
And the NBA play-in starts May 16th. That might help that too.
See, I didn't
I'll
even think about that. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw, but Tom Brady, apparently the rumor is he's getting into crypto.
Yep.
And someone tweeted at him, and then he quoted the tweet with maybe I should get in or something. And I would expect that to move on cryptos.
Yeah, I was actually going to say you can probably watch Mariah today. Binance actually saw so much activity this morning that it actually had a quick pause and any selling activity, so you can only buy on Binance. Also, price target changes. We got oil all over the place. Apache's going up from a $23 price target, which I called out last night anyway. But you got the DraftKings all over the board from what you were saying, but they actually have cuts from 65 down to 54 really. So I'm watching that. Although I know you're bullish on it still, I'm just letting you know that there's cuts.
Workhorse down again after setting their 2021 production target below expectations. This is a shit company. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. They're the only thing anybody cared about was the UPS contract. They didn't get it. I don't understand why people continue to talk about it. It's not an interesting company. They don't have anything special. There are many companies producing an EV truck. This shouldn't be the one that's on your list currently. Although Kathy Woods continues to buy a frick ton of it. I don't know why she's this subplot to today's morning show, but it's just an interesting thing to note. They continue to kind of stay alive and stay in the market. They do have a real product. It's like they don't, but I just think they were a meme stock. Unfortunately, they got relegated to that, and a lot of the people who are interested, so you're not really seeing, and also they're not really getting the deals that you would expect it to get to make it to a place of permanent profitability. So Workhorse, wah, wah, wah.
Well, when your UPS card looks like a toaster oven, like no one wants that. Um, I mean, it's just bad. Ford to the floor. Unfortunately, they had safety recalls that affect 620,000 cars in the U.S. and 4,500 vehicles in New Mexico.
Yeah, no, Ford has not been doing well, and ironically, GM has been doing fantastic. It's so good. I mean, I've it's like, obviously started scaling into both of those. So yeah,
That's
GM.
because they lie about semiconductor
I
shortages.
mean, hey, but they're saying they're gonna meet their whatever their sorry God Jesus Christ their quotes whatever they said their guidance. They said they're gonna meet their guidance, so that's all we needed to know. And if they don't, what happens to a stock. Like there are many times where will say lower the guidance just so that they hit it, but this is not what's happening. It is a big deal. You're right, Christopher. Mastercard sees quote green shoots either way. So the CFO of Mastercard said that they're seeing payments specifically dealing with travel networks, and the travel would be between U.S. and Mexico, Hong Kong and Singapore, and Australia and New Zealand. So although there are many places, and like we're not going to Malaysia right now. That's another one on the list. There are some places that are experiencing some travel and commerce between two countries. So that's kind of an interesting thing to note. As we're not Mastercard, we kind of can't see the world from that view. All right. Anybody else got any hot popping news you want to talk about before we do some affirmations and get into our trades? Oh, you guys, Blue Origin is going to auction off the first space tourism flight. Um, there's nothing about it. They say that it's a bid, basically. It's an online bidding thing, and they say the winning bid amount will be donated to the Club for the Future Foundation to inspire future generations to pursue careers in STEM. But I think the important thing to note is that they're not going to be making any money. So I continue to wonder what the true value of space tourism truly is, because it doesn't make any money. We can't trade it, yet people seem to be very, very bullish on the idea of investing in these companies based off of space travel.
I'm bullish if SpaceX does it, just because they're going to be accepting Dogecoin for payment. And so while it's not profitable right now, in 3 years, once it's at $1.50, they'll have made tons of money.
All right. With that said, you guys want to do a quick watch list and then get to it? All right. 15 seconds or less. Chris, what's on your watch list for today?
Oil. Nothing else needs to be said.
Jesus Christ. I like that, Pat. What's on your watch list for today?
Following Chris, oil.
Oof, you guys. Okay. Ness,
Fine,
you
I'll throw
back?
one more. Following
Thank you.
following oil, and I'm following solar. I'm looking at TAN, and I'm looking at ENPH, Enphase.
Oh, Enphase. That's what we're talking about. Marcus, watch list.
Oh, I'm sorry. Market just came on. I am looking at the gas, same thing, oil, but I'm looking at that also UCO for the gas side. No, UGA, sorry, and copper still. So that's it.
Absolutely. Larko, watch list.
Next person.
Coach.
Fubu TV.
That's what I'm talking about, Coach. That's what we like to see here. Fubo
Yeah,
TV is on a
they got earnings
discount.
this week, right?
Yes, they do, and they are discounted to the heavens, to the gods themselves. They are. Fahim, watch list.
Nope, nothing really. Sitting more or less in May. Um, but if any of you guys do trade with futures, I'd be interested to listen about that later sometime.
Oh, you missed the futures talk.
Yeah, I missed it.
It's okay. I actually recorded today, so it will be on YouTube. Look at me. Look at me handling the things. I'm older now. I handle stuff. Kit, watch list.
All
Also, good
things,
morning.
I know it's been a while, and I hope that you're well. All things crypto, all things oil. And now that he said something about that Fubu TV, Fubo, I'm talking about Fubu. I'm gonna go and just check it out and see what's going on.
And last but not least, Twan, do you have anything to add? Are we have to get in the Discord, man?
I'm gonna sit out on my hands for about 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna load the Discord up in the general area. I'm loading it up today. Loco, wait for me.
Hey,
Yo,
I
I
got
love
one
it.
for y'all. This is probably the worst thing you've ever heard, but Shiba coin. I put $75 in it on April 17th. That $75 is at 1400 today.
And see,
No, no,
here's the
no.
thing. I've heard about that. It's like the and like the I don't want to say anti dog coin because there's also another Ren dog coin. That's a
No,
whole other
kid. The
conversation.
anti-dog coin is pussy.
Hey,
Don't get me. Look, you guys. I swear to you, I want to have a whole room explaining like this DeFi project that I've kind of been a part of, and like just how liquidity pools work with Uniswap and all this cool crypto shit. I actually do want to talk about that. I'm sure you have something to add too, Larko. But there is some movement in those sectors. But we're on stock time right now.
I just wanted to.
Facts.
My bad.
Hey, keep your eye on BTT too. I've been doing my research on that. The BitTorrent coin. I think it's gonna do something.
I'll go. Last but not least, so Timican still has been like one of my biggest winners. Vale is still something I'm looking at as well. And on the automotive side, like I'm kind of interested. I'm enjoying this GM story to be honest. And like if we can get a break here, I'm definitely looking for another $2-3 of movement. That would be nice for me. We've been holding above this sort of symmetrical triangle consolidation pattern, so I could get into the automotive side as well. And last but not least, I can talk about, oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, the story in XLF is insane as well. So Goldman Sachs has also been just tearing the charts up. And yeah, it is going to be kind of a slow day for me. I think a slow day for a lot of people. Just to end it up real quick and do a nice little wrap up. Um, S&P 500 futures in the red. Yeah, we're all in the red to be honest. The only thing that's up right now is Vixx, up 4.97%, but we have the Nasdaq futures in the red by 0.87%, zero point 0.9 now. Russell futures 0.37% in the red, and the S&P 500 also 0.04%. So I think we are absolutely seeing, and we also have the 10-year down. So it's not like this is one of those 10-year inflation days or anything like that. It's just showing basically the market volatility and how people are responding to this commodities, mega hyper cycle, and also just a little bit of hesitation in all of our sectors. Well, I mean, with that said, though, XLE up 2%, XLB up 1.5%, XLF almost up a percentage point, right? So it's certain parts of the market that are really seeing this pullback where it's, consumer discretionary, communications, and tech, right? Like those are going to struggle sometimes. So if anybody doesn't have anything else to add, we'll do some affirmations and get out of here.
I just want to say XLF for the win. I swung it over the weekend. I'm already out the trade, dog. Let's get this money. That's my affirmation. I'm about to. Hey.
Today's the day. You've been preparing for this. You are ready to lock in some profit. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this community, and I'm grateful for the conversations. I'm grateful for the inspiration to look in different places in the market and find the trade that makes sense. I will not force a trade. I am patient. I am prepared. When I move into a trade, I have a plan, an entry, an exit, a stop loss. I take profit, and I always protect my principal. I'm grateful for this volatility because without it, I wouldn't be getting the amount of profit that I am. I'm grateful for the information. And I'm thankful. With that said, I'm thankful for the opportunity to not only take care of myself, but to create generational wealth for the people that I love and care about. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Profitable as hell. Let's get into it. This is Stockhouse U. We're out of here.
Much love, y'all.
Peace.